Hello, my name is Tom Tribbett. Today I'll be presenting my final project for CSC E-90 Cloud Computing. My final project is on AWS Cloud Formation. First thing I'm going to do is just give a brief introduction about what the product is, what it offers. Then I'm going to go into a little demonstration, and then I'm just going to wrap it up by looking at some of the advanced capabilities of the product. So what is AWS Cloud Formation? AWS Cloud Formation is a service that gives developers and businesses an easy way to create a collection of related AWS resources and provision them in an orderly and predictable fashion. It's often also described as a infrastructure as code because it's basically taking JSON template files, which are nothing more than a text file, and what that text file contains is basically a description of all the different AWS resources that are needed to deploy and run the application in Stack. There's several ways to create the templates. You can obviously write them from scratch or use one of the many samples provided by Amazon and other sources online. And there's also a tool that Amazon provides, which is called the Cloud Former, which essentially builds templates from the existing resources you have defined in AWS. After the template is completed and we have AWS Cloud Formation go ahead and instantiate that template, the set of resources that are created and managed as a single unit now are referred to in AWS Cloud Formation as a stack. The stack is essentially the high-level control of all the different resources that were allocated, described in the JSON template file. All those resources are actively being used and being charged for as long as that stack is active. One of the nice things about AWS Cloud Formation is that when you have all those resources out there defined, and these things can tend to get rather large over time, and you could forget how many resources you have out there. And one of the nice things about AWS Cloud Formation, AWS web services in general, is that it's a pay-as-you-go infrastructure, but they charge for everything. So if we have a lot of resources out there that were created months ago and we've forgotten about it, we're kind of stuck with them until we go out there and find them all and delete them. But when we use AWS Cloud Formation and we create the stack, all those resources get deleted when we delete the stack. Let's just take a high-level look at what goes on when we use AWS Cloud Formation service. When we have our JSON template, and it doesn't really matter how it's created, if we created it from scratch, if we took it as a sample, or we used CloudFormer. Essentially, we take that JSON template, run that through AWS Cloud Formation, where everything's parsed out, and the resources are allocated. And when that's finished, it'll actually launch the instance. And so that's what basically would all the different things that we allocated in our template file are now going to become our application. Some of the pros I've noticed with AWS Cloud Formation are, first of all, the excellent documentation and user guides. I mean, Amazon really provides very clear, concise, just excellent user guides and documentation. I just put that first. Also, the number of sample templates are all free to use, and you can customize them depending on your needs. Makes it very easy to get started. Also, the fact that it cleans up the resources when they're no longer needed when you delete the stack. And the CloudFormer also very nice, since that takes whatever you have defined already, whatever AMI you would have, and creates templates based off of that. There's no charge for using the Cloud Formation service. However, the underlying resources are charged at regular rates. It's available in all the different regions. It's JSON based, and it's available for almost all the AWS services. In fact, I couldn't see any services that you'd probably want to use that weren't supported by using the AWS Cloud Formation. Some of the cons of AWS Cloud Formation, while not major, but I have found these when I was doing some research on some of the cons that other people had found. What they're basically saying is that it does not replace configuration management tools. Bootstrapping applications can be difficult. And while the Cloud Formation service is free, obviously the underlying resources are charged at regular prices. While there's unlimited resources, but we're limited to only 20 parameters and 20 outputs, I think 20 should be plenty, but I mean, again, I guess some people could want more than that. There is no area to test, like a sandbox, without being charged. And that's kind of a downside, I think, because while you might want to just play around with some of the stuff to see how you can do with it, if you're creating some large instances, again, it won't cost a lot, but it does add up because they charge for everything. And a couple of things I noticed as well, that even though the order of the resources in the template don't matter, because AWS will parse that, put it in the correct order, sometimes it fails, and to be able to read that and debug your template, it's probably best just to have them in the correct order to start with. So continuing on with the AWS Cloud Formation overview, what I have up here is just some of the official definitions from the Amazon Web Services homepage. I'd like to just take a look at some of the terms that I'll be using throughout the demonstration and give a very brief definition of what some of them mean. So taking a look at some of the AWS Cloud Formation components, the first one, very important, most important of all, is the stack. And that's the collection of the AWS resources that are defined in the template. The template is where we describe all the AWS infrastructure requirements that we're going to be using for the stack. Taking a look at what composes templates, basically there's four key components of a template that have to be defined. We have parameters, mappings. Another very important component of the template is the resources. This is where you basically declare all the resources you want AWS Cloud Formation to manage. And this is basically where all the work gets done when the template is being parsed and processed. The last important component of a template I want to go over is the outputs, and this is just basically where you declare information to be passed back to the template user at the completion of the stack being created. So if you want to put down public IP addresses, or what type of instance was created, this is where it's done. This is a very simple template. It's basically what they call the hello bucket, similar to the hello world type when you do programming. But this is just a very simple one which declares this AWS S3 bucket called hello bucket. For the demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a web hosting company, and what they're going to have is basically 4 tiers of usage levels or hosting levels. And what we're going to do when we get a request in is we're going to run the template that suits the customer's needs and creates whatever different tier that they want to pay for, basically to use. So here are basically the 4 tier levels that we're going to be taking care of in the demonstration. So let's go ahead and start the demonstration. For this demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a template for a Linux 32 AMI, and essentially I'm going to have a template that I've saved at this location on my hard drive, and I'm going to basically import that when I'm building a new stack, and the different types of prompts will appear in the process. So when we look at the description I have here, essentially just says that we're going to create this instance. We'll see that when I get to the AWS page. the parameters, and this is the parameter right here is the key name. Notice it doesn't yet have the instance type, because I'm going to add that down below. So our mappings, this is for the region. So I'm usually in the East one. I'll be using this AMI. If I was in other regions, I'll be using one of these AMIs. Here's where the different types of resources are defined. And they basically map, as you can see here, security groups maps to this section here. The key name maps up, up to the above key name. And then our AWS region comes up to here, region map. So it's going to look for that particular region. And here's our properties. We're going to allow SSH, and then the outputs are sent back to the user at the completion. So if we go ahead and go to our Cloud Formation, and we're going to create a new stack. We're just going to call it demo stack. We're going to upload the template file. I'm going to browse for that, and that's right here, demo Linux. Okay, now it's being parsed. We can either do micro or we can do small. And I'm going to use my key. We can do the micro one, that's fine. And continue. And here's the demo information that I had within that template. That's micro, is my key. Okay, and if there's anything fails, the Cloud Formation will roll back everything. So let's go ahead and go. And we can actually follow the progress in the events section. This is a pretty fast stack to create, so it shouldn't take too long. And it's progressing fairly well here. We're getting there. We have created basically the instance security group. The instance is currently in progress. Now we have our stack is complete and it's been created now. So we can refresh. Okay. And that's going to take a couple of seconds here. In the meantime, let's go look at our EC2 section, and there's the instance running. Okay, so we now have the instance running. This is the one that was just created, and this is the micro. So now with the micro one complete, I'm gonna go ahead and start the next one, and that's going to be my small one. So I'm just going to call this stack small, and make that M1 small. And the same key name. Go ahead and start the small version. And while that's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and also now, I want to go ahead and run my large one at the same time. So I want to say demo stack large. And that's a different template, and that's this one here. And we can either do M3 2x large or M3 large. I'll just do M3 large, just to show that we can have these things running at the same time. And these could be expensive if they're forgotten about. So the good thing about that is when I do delete this stack, all the different resources underneath these will go away. are being created now, both of them at the same time. And again, this one here is on my small stack. This is my large stack, and both running simultaneous. They should be up here in a second. We'll go ahead and pause this for a minute and let these finish, and then I'll be right back. Thanks. Okay, all the stacks have been created, and basically here's where the outputs go. Here's our resources. These are the different events that took place all the way up to the completion. If we come back to our EC2, what we'll see is now I have 3 running instances, 3 volumes, and in North Virginia, that's where I had everything set up. And so if I had 3 customers that I was going to host that wanted those 3 different types of support levels, I've just gone ahead and taken care of that with the same script for one, and then so I could basically, as many people called up, I could have those scripts being created on the fly or modified as needed. So it's a very and this is obviously just a basic view of what you can do. And what I like to just now is show the changes that I made quickly on the script to do with what we just did here. So to have the instance be able to support different levels of instant types, as far as micro, small, all I think I had to do was I had to just add under the parameters section an instance type, and basically that's this right here. Then I had to, down here where we actually do the resource definitions, I had to actually put instance type in there, and then I just, for convenience, I added an output value, so we could see what was outputted to the to display the output at the completion of that stack creation. And for the other template I have here, which handles the larger portion script, is essentially just the same thing. I just had to have M3X large, M3 2X large, and then ensure that these AMIs are able to support this level of instance types. And so I could basically customize the script to do many different types of zones, or many different types of AMIs, or even different types of security. So that that's basically how we are going to meet this right here. So we have a script that handles these two, and we have a script that handles these two. So that pretty much completes the demo as I have it here. I just want to wrap up with a couple of points. I think one of the final things I'd like to mention anyway is that I think when I went through all the AWS Cloud Formation tutorials and documentation, I really found that it's probably going to, if at some point, if it's not already, it's probably become a standard as far as how these types of cloud applications and cloud computing probably are going to evolve in the future, because I think to be able to react quickly with like a library of templates to solve different problems, rather than just going in there and defining, as we did in the beginning with the command level, at the command prompts and things like that, not even using the GUI. I do believe that these types of templates take us even past the GUI, where if I know I can just add a couple parameters, or take a sample template from, say, Amazon, and customize it a little bit to do what I need to do, and then and save that time, as I have to create different types of projects. I think that the payback there is immense. So I'm very impressed with the AWS Cloud Formation, and I think I'm going to use it going forward. Thank you very much.